have it all. I can have it all.
Hello everybody, it's Christy Whitman with the Quantum Success Show, where you can get your information and inspiration to create your desires. And as you can see, I have a lovely man sitting next to me, and you probably recognize his face because if you're into personal development at all, you already know who he is. He probably doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to give it anyway. So this is the beloved, amazing Jack Canfield, and you probably know him for many things, but he is one of the co-authors of the originators of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Jack Canfield fosters the emergence of the inspirational anthologies as a genre and watched it grow to $1 billion market. Amazing. As a driving force behind the development and delivery of more than 123 million books sold through the Chicken Soup for the Soul franchise, over 500 million copies in print worldwide, Jack Canfield is uniquely qualified to talk about success. I would say so. So he is affectionately known as America's #1 success coach. He has studied and reported on what makes success, different for people, and he knows what motivates them, what drives them, what inspires them. And he brings a critical insight to countless audiences internationally, sharing his success strategies in the media with companies, universities, and professional associations. Jack is a Harvard graduate, and he has a master's degree in psychological education and one of the earliest champions of peak performances in developing specific methodologies and results-oriented activities to help people take on greater challenges and produce breakthrough results. So he has proven one of my favorite books that I read probably 15 years ago and had to get it in paperback, The Success Principles, How to Get From Where You Are to Where You Want to Be. This is a new standard in self-improvement, and it contains 64 powerful principles for success, and it's utilized by top achievers from all walks of life and all areas of commerce. He was also a featured teacher in the movie The Secret, and I'm so excited because I get to be in the coaching documentary that's coming out next year called Leap with him. And I am also recently a member of the Transformational Leadership Council, which Jack founded in 2004. So I get to spend quality time with Jack. So Jack, welcome.
Thank you, Christy. Thanks for having me.
I'm thrilled that you're here, and I get to introduce you to what I call my family, and just get to have you inspire them and share your years and years of wisdom and all the success that you've not only achieved but helped others to achieve. So my goal for everybody is, even if they just take one thing away from today that can get them to shift something, to think differently, to take some kind of action so that they're creating more success in their life. So, yay. I know you. We talked about this about 1.5 years ago because of my book launch on the art of having it all. You are definitely a man that believes in having it all. So can you tell me how you define having it all?
Well, I don't think you can have everything. There's nowhere to put it all. But I think you can have experiences that you want to have. For example, I think everyone can be happy. Everyone can experience inner peace and joy. Everybody can experience really fulfilling, juicy, growth-oriented relationships. Everybody can find a way to express their gift into the world. Everybody can find a way to have abundance and prosperity in their life, to have adventure and travel and growth and all of that. So for me, I divide life into 7 areas, whether it's, like look at finance and career as 2 different areas, and then look at relationships, look at fun and recreation, look at health and fitness. I have a thing I call personal, which is just, anything you want to do that's growth-oriented, like I want to learn to meditate, I want to reach inner peace, or I just want to write a letter to the editor and get it published, or I want to go somewhere that I've never been. And then finally, contribution. I think we all want to feel significant. Self-esteem is a combination of feeling lovable, capable, and significant, that you matter, you make a difference, that your walk on earth actually impacted somebody or something. Mm-hmm. And so we all have the capacity to do that. And I think, if one structures one's life correctly and uses the principles that we all teach, you can have it all.
Beautiful. Yeah, I always say that having it all is having total connection with yourself. It's not about attaining everything. And like I tell my son, my 7-year-old son, you can't have all the Legos in the world because they're just going to keep making more. Plus, where are you going to put it all? Like you said, that's not having it all. So, I mean, you've had such major success, and I know that, many times during my journey of becoming an author and a coach, I remember years ago when I wanted to get one of my books published, and it was turned down by, I think, 12 different publishers. And I heard that your book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, which is literally is in the Guinness Book of World Records for how many books you've sold. It's incredible. It was turned down 144 times. So, like, where do you get that tenacity? Like, how do you keep going when things aren't going exactly the way you want them to go?
Well, I think it's a combination of a couple of things, at least for that book. Number one was that we had been telling these stories, Mark Victor Hansen and I. It started out as my book, and then he kind of came in toward the end and added about 30 stories. And, we'd been telling those stories and getting standing ovations for years. And so it's like I knew that those stories mattered to people and that they influenced, they inspired, they motivated, they empowered. But, convincing people in New York wasn't as easy as we thought it would be. They said it's a stupid title. Nobody reads collections of short stories, which was pretty true if they were literary short stories. But no one had ever really compiled true short stories before. So we really created a genre. You'll see lots and lots of books out there now that have copied that model. And gratefully so. I mean, I'm glad that we're having an impact that allowed others to have their impact. But so people were afraid to take a risk on it. But we knew in our heart of hearts that this was something that was meant to happen. And I would say by the time we got to New York and got rejected by the first 21 publishers over 3 days of meetings, it was kind of like a divine obsession. Like I knew I was being guided to do this. And you talk about, having it all being connected to yourself and your true self. And to me, that's like connected through that to the universe. And I felt like, this was something I was meant to do. Mark felt the same way. And so it just like, sometimes the hardest things you get tested. How committed are you to this? And those hardest things often pay off the biggest rewards. So it's not like, anybody can go out and write a letter. But writing a book and then promoting that book in the face of a lot of resistance is difficult. I think the other thing that happened is we were willing to self-publish the book if we had to. So we knew that we were going to get this message out one way or another. I didn't particularly want to become a publisher. I wasn't interested in warehousing and distribution and all that stuff. Not what I wanted to do. But we would have, because we were so passionate about the project. And I think, the thing... There's a guy named Simon Sinek who talks about knowing your why. It's a great TED Talk if you've never seen it or anyone watching this hasn't. I encourage you to go do it. I think it's SYNEK is his name. Might be CK at the end. And, our why was huge. We wanted to transform the world one story at a time. We wanted to really make a difference. I mean, my life is not motivated by ego or greed. I mean, we all have a little of that. But the majority is I want to make a difference. I really wanted to transform. I started wanting to transform education, and then I realized that the whole world, in terms of, there's always education going on, like in this call, in corporations, training programs, hospitals, churches, and so forth. And so that was really my motivation. And so I don't think anything was going to stop me from doing that. I actually had one of my staff people, when I said I'm going to do this book called Chicken Soup for the Soul, and they said, they quit. They said, I cannot work for you where you're going to go out and try to do work in the corporate world and have a book title called Chicken Soup for the Soul. It just doesn't match. It's embarrassing to me. And he actually quit. Wow. 3 years later, he apologized. We'd sold 10 million copies just in the U.S. But, you often don't get instant sort of reinforcement or validation for your ideas or your impact you want to make. And I think the purpose of overcoming rejection is not just to get the thing done, the book out there, but it really grows you as a person. You have to develop qualities that perhaps you didn't have, like cooperation or patience or perseverance or courage. And I think that, for me, after having done that I think we did it was about 14 or 18 months before we found a publisher, and we were on it continually. And once we got that and we had that success, I walked away from that going, oh my God, I can do anything if I just persevere, if I just believe in it strongly enough, if I just go for it. So I think when we're tested like that and we achieve the goal, it grows us in a tremendous way. And I think that the purpose of being alive is not necessarily to accomplish things or to amass wealth or power, but to grow, and to grow in mastery. And so a lot of us have to master our fears, our limiting beliefs, our self-talk, our thinking. We have to overcome, childhood traumas and things that we've experienced. And we also have to take risks. We have to, do the things that are scary, go outside of our comfort zone. And that's where the real growth is. I always say that everything you want that you don't have is just outside your comfort zone. So we have to be willing to take those steps. And I think for me, that was the huge lesson that I got from that. And I think we're always learning. So I'm always going, well, what's the opportunity that this is? When I just did you mentioned being in the movie Leap. I was just in a movie yesterday being recorded called Adversity. And it's all about dealing with the challenges and adversity that comes up. And I think that adversity is actually a gift because it forces you to grow. And most people would choose to live in comfort rather than confront the adversity. So they go into denial, or they drink, or they overwork, or they, watch video games all day long, or sleep all day long, whatever, instead of confronting the uncomfortable feelings that come up when you think about moving through the challenge you have. But when you do that, you become empowered and successful.
Awesome. Well, you certainly are like the picture perfect poster man for success. And I mean, from all the things that you've accomplished just in the personal development space, I mean, getting books in the Guinness Book of World Records, I mean, having multiple New York Times bestselling books, being on Super Soul Sunday and Oprah, and, just even creating the Transformational Leadership Council. What an amazing group of people. I mean, there's been so many things that, and I could go on, that you've accomplished in your life, each giving you that, that, like you're saying, that growth trajectory, that growth point. So how do you find, like, now at this stage of your life that you define success differently than you did back then, like maybe 20, 30 years ago?
I do. I think on a more abstract conceptual level, I used to define success as being able to do whatever you wanted, whenever you wanted, wherever you wanted. So if you could create a goal and achieve it, you could have a desire and you could fulfill it. You could have an intention and you would make it happen, whether that was to, be the president of the United States, or whether that was to write poetry in a little A-frame house out in the middle of the woods in New Hampshire or Maine. As long as you were doing what you wanted to do and could make that happen, meaning create the life you wanted, I called that success. And I think now I define success abstractly as fulfilling your soul's purpose. That each of us, I believe, comes into life with a purpose, and we see little kids who at 4 years old, they're just into music. They want to sing and dance and play the violin or whatever. And you see people that are just into sports, the little kid that's in Little League and goes on. I just had a book submitted to me to review about a boy who we think is the reincarnation of Lou Gehrig. And he, at the age of 4, started being into baseball like you can't believe. At 6, he threw out a game ball for the first game of a major league thing. I mean, wow. He just eats, sleeps, breathes, is baseball, And so that's at least the form of his purpose. Now, there may be something higher that he's teaching people through his life. We don't know yet. He's still young. But, people that they have to cook, they have to organize, they have to paint, they have to be with animals and ride horses and raise horses and do horse programs and, whatever it is. They're just passionate about it. So I think each of us is born with this inner flame, if you will, that wants to express itself in some kind of form. And that if we can identify that and not squelch that or have it squelched by parents, teachers, coaches, churches, whatever, then what happens is we get to fulfill our purpose. And when you do that, there's no comparison between, someone who's a senator from New York State versus someone who's working in, a cowhand in Texas. But if that cowhand is really happy, and if that cowhand is doing something that he feels is meaningful, then he's fulfilling or she's fulfilling their purpose. So I think that our real job, if you will, is first to discover, and I use the word discover, which means to take the cover off of something that's already there. We don't have to put anything in. People come in with these talents with these predilections and preferences and desires and preferences that they have. And if we can honor that and then follow our bliss, follow our joy, follow the things that make us happy, which is our internal guidance system that tells you you are on purpose, then you end up living a very fulfilling life. So for me, it's gone from just being able to do whatever you want. We see a lot of kids who what they want is they just want to, drink and take drugs and dance and, drive the fancy cars and have everyone think they're cool. And eventually people wake up and go, I've been doing that for a lot of years and I'm still not fulfilled. There must be something deeper. I was just watching a video the other day. It's called Charity Water. And it's a half-hour video that was sent to me as a fundraiser. A guy who was in New York, he was making tons of money, basically recruiting beautiful women to go to the clubs. So then all the guys would come in and pay $500 for a bottle of champagne that'll cost the club $40. And these, hip clubs that everyone, there's a really big hit song right now by a guy named Lucas Graham. I forget what it's called, but the line is, I took a pill and a bees, and he's about having all this money to buy cool shoes and cars and all that stuff, and then waking up one day and going, this isn't it,
Yeah.
And so this young man had everything you could possibly want, the cars, the Ferraris, the Rolex watches, whatever, and he just woke up one morning in the middle of all it, and he decided to take a year off and go to Africa and to be a volunteer on this ship that did operations for people, kind of like, the Doctors Without Borders thing. And they were doing sometimes, 300 operations a day. And one day they landed in this town, I think it was in Liberia, not positive, but 5,000 people showed up. And they had to turn 4,000 of them away.
Wow.
And some of them had walked for 30 days, knowing this ship was going to be there to get an operation. They didn't get it. And he thought, something's wrong here. And then he was so depressed by it, he just walked out into the villages and found himself in a village where kids were drinking water, and it was dirty brown with worms in it, and they were dying and getting sick. Mm-hmm. And he said, boy, the things we take for granted, like water. And so he started this Charity Water, and they built something like 40,000 wells around the world, and they're now raising millions of dollars a year, and he's happy. And he found his purpose. Mm. So sometimes we find it late in life because we realize we're not happy, so this can't be it because it's not fulfilling me. Mm. Sometimes you find it, 3-year-olds, they know they want to be a singer, and then all of a sudden we find out they're, on Grand Ole Opry, 20 years later, and they're doing their thing. But I think that for me, I wanted to make a difference in education. That was kind of the form of my purpose. And now my purpose is described as, inspiring and empowering people to live their highest vision in the context of love and joy in harmony with the highest good of all concerned, meaning that I want to help everybody reach their highest vision, not mine, but theirs, in a context of love and joy, and then in a way that doesn't hurt other people, so in harmony with the highest good. Like the guys on Wall Street who brought Wall Street down in 2008 and 9, they weren't thinking about anyone but themselves. It's fine to want a lot of money if that's something that's going to help you fulfill your purpose and do your thing, but if it's at the cost of whole economies collapsing, that's not good. So it has to include that from my point of view. Anyway, you'll see I'm the master of the short answer here today.
And that's why I love you, Jack. Well, I was going to ask you, you have obviously the success principles. I mean, I'm talking to the audience now, if you have not gotten this book, you've got to get it. It is the Bible of success. There you go. I mean, it is, each chapter is just filled with more information. It's based on the principles that all you guys are here for, universal principles. It's just an important piece of work. And so, Jack, what would you say are the, success principles that you use on a daily basis? Like, what are your success daily habits that you incorporate?
Well, it's really two questions. Let me answer the first one. I think I live by 100% responsibility. Take 100% responsibility for your life. And I teach a formula that you're aware of called E plus R equals O, that events plus your response to that event equals the outcomes you get. And if you're not happy with the outcomes, quit blaming the events and change your responses. That's the only thing you have control over, your thoughts, your images, your behavior. And so I am constantly reminding myself that if something's going to happen, it's up to me. And if something has happened, I probably created it. So if I don't like it, figure out what I'm doing that's creating it and stop it. Or if I'm not getting what I want, figure out how to create it. Maybe someone else has already done it. So one of my principles is study success. I think Tony Robbins once said, success leaves clues. And so, you've written a book, and that book is full of clues about how to live a more fulfilling life. And, all the TED Talks, people are sharing their clues about how to live effective lives on many, many levels. And so I read voraciously. I take a lot of seminars. I listen to TED Talks and audio downloads and videos. And I go to, telesummits. And I'm always engaged in learning. And that's important to me. So that principle of, I always say, you earn more when you learn more. And so the idea is if you have more skills, more insights, more awarenesses, more distinctions that you can make that help people be more effective, then you are more valuable. And as Brian Tracy says, the way to increase your income is to create more value for more people. So if I can reach more people and also create more value for the people I'm already reaching, then I'm going to be successful in my mission, and also I'm going to be successful financially as long as I'm charging for it and not giving it away. So that's a huge principle, is constantly be learning, constant and never-ending improvement, big part of that. I think I am a big believer in meditation, and so that's one of the practices I do. I meditate. I visualize my goals as already complete. I do that twice a day. So my process, I go and I meditate. And then I start by doing gratitude. So I start with a few minutes of gratitude. I do this heart math breathing where I breathe in through my heart, expand my heart with appreciation, and then focus on the things I'm grateful for. And so I'm filling my heart with gratitude and appreciation. And a lot of spiritual teachers, I know you have a book behind you there called Ask and It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks. And they talk about that gratitude and appreciation is right up there with love. Those are the three highest vibrations, and then joy being right up there with it. Mm-hmm. And so that I want to start with gratitude. Then I meditate. And I do 3 or 4 different kinds of meditation. And quite frankly, when I sit down, I don't know which one I'm going to do until I start it. And I might start one and it doesn't feel right, and I'll do another one. So one is just following my breath. And just thoughts come, just watch them go by, go return to the breath. That's very relaxing. I teach a 4-part meditation where you start by running light through your body. Then you do a repetition of a mantra. It could be anything like I am love, or it could be something from the East like Sat Nam or Soham, or it could be, Ishla Budila, which is a Sufi chant. I mean, there's anything you can do there. And then we go into just focusing on watching whatever goes through your mind. And then we end with surrounding yourself with light, and then visualizing your goals as achieved. So I might do that. But I always end up with visualizing my goals, whatever meditation I do. And there's others one. I won't go into all the details. But so those meditations and the visualization is a daily exercise. At the end of the day, after work, often before I go home, I walk 12 feet from my office into my house. That's how far
so
home
good.
is.
Great commute. Love my commute.
I know. But before I, rejoin my family, if you will, I will do a daily review where I'll ask myself, where could have I been more? And then I'll fill in the blank on whatever quality I'm working on that month. Present, compassionate, forgiving, loving, joyful, focused, whatever. And invariably, I see something, where I got upset with the traffic, or I got upset at the bank teller, or I just called Jessie and didn't even say, how are you, before I started telling her what I needed to do, And then what I do is I replay that in my mind so that I'm creating a blueprint for the future time I'm in that situation, so I'll do it more consciously. And that's called the daily review. And at the end of the night, I will do my affirmations and visualizations again, just for a few minutes, to pre-program myself for my subconscious working on that throughout the night. Another thing I do is I plan my schedule for the next day before I leave work. So it's not a to-do list, it's a schedule list. Meaning it is a to-do list in the sense that I do the most important thing first and then second. But I don't just have a list. I calculate how much time do I think I'm going to need to get that done, and I put it in my schedule. And quite often when I do that, I realize I'm trying to get too much done. There's not enough time for that. I can scale back and leave a little time for flex time and interviews like this and so forth. I exercise 3 times a week really vigorously. combination of aerobics, weights, and stretching. I tend to do a little yoga before I go to bed at night because I tend to be older and getting stiffer as I age, so I want to keep as loose as I can. I eat a blender drink in the morning of protein powder and some other powders that, like collagen and the alkaline stuff that, vegetables keep the body alkaline. I drink 12 glasses of water a day. I make sure I acknowledge at least 5 people a day for something they've done well on my staff or my family. I keep a little checklist, so I make sure I get 5. If I don't remember it, I send emails, but verbal's better. Those are pretty much the consistent.
Is that it? I mean,
well, I did leave out something. I like to at least read for 20 minutes every day. Some days I'll read for 2 or 3 hours because that's part of what I do for a living, but keeping up on things. But always start with at least 20 minutes. And if I don't, sometimes I'll go through the whole day doing other people's things and not nurturing my brain or my soul. So it's critical.
Well, what I love about you is that you set yourself up for success, and you're such a man of integrity. And, when I see you obviously at Transformational Leadership Council, you're sit in the front row, you've got your notepad, and it's like the speakers that you have that are there, you're taking notes. And it's so true that you just live all this. You live the book, The Success Principles. And so I'm just honored to know you and to be one of your students from buying your book 15 years ago. And, being able to, all the people that you've helped that have helped me along the way and the impact that you've made allows me to now make impact on other people's lives. So I'm forever grateful for you for that. And yeah, so I love you, Jack. You're amazing.
I love you back, Christy. Thank you.
So I know you have a gift. It's a pretty cool gift. I'm really excited that you're generously offering this to the family. You're giving away a 10-day transformation. So can you explain a little bit what that is?
Yeah, what happens when you sign up for it is every day you'll get an email either to your cell phone, your iPad, your computer, whatever it is. And then it gives you, there's a short video of me talking about one of the principles, one of the success principles that are in the book that we talked about. And they're in a sequence of how to move through from getting real clear about who you are and what you want and all the way to being able to manifest that. And so each day, there's the instruction. It's short, 3 minutes, 5 minutes long. And then there is a homework assignment for the day, if you will, something to focus on that allows you to take this information, actually embody it better than just have, you have books behind you. I say sometimes people just end up with self-esteem better than self-esteem because they take all their notes and things, they just put it on the shelf.
Right.
Like if I took all those notes at that meeting and just put it on the shelf, nothing would change. But if I look at the notes and say, okay, these are the actions I'm going to take because of it, then those become embodied in me. Like right now, assuming you hadn't been on a bicycle in 2 years, you can get on a bicycle and ride it because it's in your cellular memory now. Mm-hmm. And so when you practice gratitude every day for a year, it just becomes a habit. It becomes what you do. Like you don't have to tell most people in their 30s brush their teeth. They just do it because it's part of their daily routine. So, and then there's a place you can go if you want to chat with other people or leave notes about what you're doing. Sometimes we ask you to give us a little feedback about what you committed to that day or whatever. So you're part of a community. So it's over 10 days. And it's a profound change. I remember just recently a woman writing me, she was an artist and she went through the 10 days and she realized that she really wanted to be teaching art. And she said, I'm not doing that. So what would I do to teach it? So she called up the local community college. This was on day 2. Oh. And she said, I would like to volunteer that if you ever have an art teacher that calls in sick, I'll take over their class. I'm an artist, I've taught art and so forth. So within a week, she got a call. And she was so lovingly and warmly received that they hired her to start teaching some classes. And then she realized one night someone gave her a couple bottles of wine. She brought the wine to the class, shared it with the students who drank, and everybody's art was more loose and more free and more whatever. She said, "Gee, I'm going to start something called wine and paint or something like that." And so she does these groups now all around Pennsylvania where she lives, where she does these evenings where she combines wine with painting, and she's making a lot more money. She's happy doing it. Everyone's buying her art because they now know her. And that all came out of simple, like 5-10 minutes a day for 10 days. Wow.
It's, what they say is little hinges swing big doors. So
there you go.
Yeah, exactly. So that is going to be exactly underneath the video. You'll see a link so you can go there and take advantage of this 10-day transformational gift that Jack is giving to you. So thank you, Jack. I appreciate your willingness to give everybody that, and for being here and sharing your wisdom and just being the amazing you that you are. I'm blessed to know you.
Very good. Now I'm going to take one last minute, since this was a free call. I'm going to promote something for myself. But we have this Train the Trainer program. And I believe that if you're watching this and you're a coach, one of the ways you can take your life to the next level is by learning to be able to coach one-to-many instead of one-to-one, and to be able to take the experiential exercises that I teach and you now teach and be able to take that into your work. So if you're all interested in expanding your capacity to make a larger difference, we have this online Train the Trainer program. Just go to jackcanfield.com, check it out. If the 10-day thing is wonderful, imagine what would happen if you had 35 hours of training. So the unapologetic
no need. It's perfect. Thank you so much. So everybody, let us know what you're taking away today. I appreciate you watching. Please let us know if, Jack gave so much information and great wisdom. Let us know what nugget, what kind of landed in you, what inspired you, and then what action you're going to take from that inspiration. So thanks again, Jack, for being here. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
My pleasure, Christy. Bye. Take care. All of you, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for watching, and here is a related video to watch right now. Also, check out my free webinars on creating whatever you want in your life using the universal laws that I explain in each webinar. So share your thoughts by leaving a comment and continue the conversation at christywhitman.com.